I stood in the fluorescent-washed studio on a thin patch of scuffed wooden floor, palms burning, swallowing the aftertaste of my own breath. The mirrors were faded at the edges, reflecting mismatched leggings and uncertain faces. I finished my solo with an undersized flourish, a hand raised, too feeble, trembling with adrenaline that had nowhere to go. Miss Han, perched rigid on her black folding chair near the front, made a sound that was halfway between a sigh and a scoff. Again, Jihoon, she said in that heavy, flat voice that insisted even your name was a failure. From the second turn, your center's lost, your focus is, she broke off, waving vaguely at the place where my energy had evaporated. I nodded, though my throat felt thick and my heart ached strangely inside my chest. I shuffled to my mark, feeling the burn in my calves and the more luminous, sickening burn behind my cheeks, humiliation glowing faintly. The other students, Yoonjin, Dawon, and that kid Mina from the next school over, kept their eyes straight ahead, everyone pretending concentration, nobody wanting to be called up next. I started the turn again. My foot hit the marley tape, skirted sideways a centimeter, and I righted myself mid-spin, heart knocking so hard it nearly threw off my spot. At the end, a half beat too soon, my arms carved space and stopped. Silence. Miss Han did not applaud. That was for stage performances, for exceptional moments, not for a Friday night with rain ticking urgent patterns outside. She leaned her head back, exhaled, then wrapped her fingers once on the chair's arm. You're not ready, Jihoon, you don't even look the part. I can see you doubting every move you make. A giggle from the back, Dawon, I bit my tongue. I could picture Yoonjin grinning, her teeth bright as the city skyline at night. Mina looked away, fussing with her ponytail. Miss Han's gaze hardened, flickering to the others as if seeking allies. This is why people leave this path, she said, loud enough so I could feel the words on my skin. It's not for everyone. I suggest you reconsider how much time you're spending here. You don't want to bring down the class. The humiliation was quiet and hot, flooding the pits of my arms and winding through my bones. I nodded again, my only dignity left in silence. My hands were shaking, but I pretended not to notice. Instead, I slumped to the bench and busied myself with my shoelaces, willing my face to turn stone. Yoonjin passed with that sliver-sharp smile again, whispering to Dawon, he's always like this after tryouts, can't even find his own feet. Home didn't offer shelter. My older brother, Seokjin, considered my baggy pants and battered shoes as if they offended him. Back from ballet kindergarten, he shoved the refrigerator door open, clattering a can of beer onto the counter. You know, if you spent half as much time on entrance exams as you do leaping around, Mom wouldn't be so worried. He waited for me to look up, that classic smirk painting his face. My mother, kneeling by the low table folding laundry, didn't disagree. She pressed her lips together, folding my t-shirts into thicker squares than needed, as if to mute herself, packing her critique into cloth. He's not a child, Seokjin, she quipped, but even that was limp, automatic. My phone lit up a notification about class fees due in 2 weeks. I knew it was a stretch. We never said we couldn't afford things in my house. Instead, you just learn not to ask. Dinner was quiet until my father came home, heavy steps in the hall, the tang of cigarettes trailing from his jacket. So, another day wasted chasing after clouds, he muttered, shoving kimchi onto his plate so hard his chopsticks snapped in two. No one laughed. Later, I closed the door to my room, locking the world out, letting my breath out in a thick, shaking stream. I pulled headphones over my ears and moved through the steps again and again, careful where my feet landed. My muscles ached, but I craved the tiredness. The ache was proof of trying, a surer thing than praise. Monday at school, people talked about universities and hagwons. In the hallways, it became public. Dawon's cousin had posted a video of my failed audition, a wobbly version filmed off-shoulder. They looped my trip, laughter gathering at my expense. At lunch, a plastic cup glanced off my shins. There he is, the famous solo artist, someone yelled. Better luck next time, prima ballerina. My mind snapped to the studio floor, the ghosts of mirrors, the way Miss Han's words had carved my willpower down to its smallest part. I went home, locked myself in again, and danced with my headphones blaring. The music filled me, wrapping me in something honest and solitary. Days blurred into weeks. I avoided after-school gatherings and family dinners. My body learned to get up after falls, my mind learned the silence of humiliation. One night, returning late, I walked beneath neon signs and pressed my hand to a cold window. The reflection that looked back was thinner, but harder. There was a flicker of patience, not hope exactly, but faith in repetition. I got a cleaning job at a smaller dance academy a district over, mopping the floors in return for practice time at night. The owner, Mr. Beak, was tired-eyed but didn't mind if I stayed late so long as I locked up. I dragged myself there, sometimes aching so much that I moved on willpower alone, counting the steps, trying to find my center in a battered, unfamiliar place. Sometimes a teacher hung behind to watch, quiet, not judging, just observing. One winter night she handed me a flyer, open call, choreographers, independent teams needed for spring festival. She added, "It's anonymous. No resumes or school required." I nearly tossed the flyer, but alone in my room I stared at it until the words pressed a heat into my eyes. Open call, no history needed, no name, just movement. I spent months on the routine. No one knew, not my family, certainly not old classmates who still swirled rumors around my failure. Mr. Beak let me borrow his old Bluetooth speaker. After that, the weeks fell away in sweated hours and silent, determined motion. Submission needed a video. I put the phone on Mr. Beak's laundry basket and recorded myself again and again until the dance became muscle memory, so deep it silenced every mocking word etched into my bones. I sent it in, hands numb. For weeks I heard nothing. Then one evening in March a message glowed on my cracked screen. CONGOATULATONS selected. Your team, 1, technical rehearsal 3:25. I reread it 9 times. Then again, I thought of calling my mother, but the silence between us was a chasm I didn't know how to cross yet. I recruited 2 dancers from the academy, Yuri and Hyun. Both had stories like mine. Surviving on scraps, burning for the craft, shunning the spotlight. We rehearsed at midnight, finishing first drafts by dawn. Money was tight. Sometimes we split convenience store meals and patched rips with medical tape. The festival came faster than I thought. Seoul Arts Hall glowed under glass and geometry, stars pricked deep over the city. In the green room I sat with Yuri and Hyun, fingers threaded tight, my heart louder than the applause trickling in from the other acts. We danced as if it was the only thing worth telling. When it was over I felt torn open, afraid but free. The instructors voted, then the audience. Days later my phone rang, a director offering me a year-long contract paid. "We'd like your choreographer's vision for our next season," she said. "You have something most people your age don't, resilience, a real voice." Through the rest of the year I burned, I worked. I took classes, shadowed other choreographers, took small jobs, big ones, solo acts. My calendar blurred out in bookings, my wallet fattened by scraps, then miraculously by real bills. My name, my real name, started appearing on festival programs, on tiny silver placards beside studio doors. Mr. Beak started calling me Sunbee, grinning, nudging me with his elbow in the mirror light. Still I didn't return home, not for holidays, not for birthdays. The scent of criticism still clung to our apartment, invisible and sharp. 3 years later I got a letter on marble-textured paper, guest choreographer. City Youth Exchange, Seoul, KBS feature, community invite. My face was on the invitation, smiling, open, nothing like the tight-lipped boy in loose sweats hunched in cold alleyways. The event was public, half the city would know. I told myself only those who noticed would come, but I slipped an invitation into my family's mailbox anyway when I passed near my old neighborhood one Sunday afternoon. The showcase was held in the university's main hall. The lights caged the stage in gold, and the old tape marking the center spot had been replaced by soft gaffer's crosses. I arrived hours early. I watched my dancers rehearse, the nervous ones and the veterans, fixing the angles, holding hands, breathing out jittery air backstage. A half hour before curtain, I went out into the lobby, nerves jangling under my skin. The space was filled, a teacher from primary school, old classmates who barely met my gaze, several hundred strangers. Near the northwest pillar, Seokjin leaned, arms crossed, face unreadable. My mother was there, clutching her purse so tightly her knuckles blanched. My father stood beside her, hair flecked with grey, the lines around his mouth drawn deeper than I remembered. Miss Han was there too, the same pinched mouth, though the lines on her face had softened. She didn't speak, she just watched me, her gaze fascinated, wary. I nodded, both in greeting and challenge, before slipping into the wings. The show began, group routines flashed by, students in uniform leotards, older dancers with precise, crisp lines. When my turn came, the stage felt endless and raw. My piece started with quiet gestures. Dancers reaching, stumbling, rising, all the failures transformed into grace, all the humiliation poured into honest, fluid movement. You could hear it in the audience, a hush, the pause when expectation burns into surprise. By the time we finished, sweat carving cold paths down our backs, the applause came suddenly, no delay, a wall of it. They called me out afterwards. For the first time in years, I walked into the light in front of the city. The MC listed my story: failed school tryouts, early rejections, community grants, then the recent successes. I heard people whisper, "That's Jihoon from Seongbuk. Didn't he drop out? He's on TV now." In the front row, my family sat side by side. My mother's eyes shone as if she might start crying. My father's hands were motionless, just resting on his knees. Seokjin answered a phone call, then cut it short, staring at the stage. Miss Han was there, lips pressed, but she applauded nonetheless. The after-party was crowded. I was surrounded by flowers, colleagues, a dozen strangers wanting autographs. When I caught a break, I found my family in a side corridor. My mother gripped my hand with a force I hadn't felt since I was a child. "You worked so hard," she whispered, as if afraid the others might hear her pride. Seokjin nudged me, understanding written in the soft edges around his eyes. "You'd better get a table for your awards," he said gruffly. My father stood apart. I expected words. Instead, he bowed stiffly, formally. Then, looking at his hands, he muttered, "I was wrong. You built something real." We saw all of it with our own eyes. The urge to cry passed like a breeze. The feeling wasn't pain anymore, it was permission. For the first time, I realized I had brought them into my world, not just in pride, but in proof. Outside the theatre, old friends and strangers alike gathered round. Dawan slunk by, nearly unrecognizable. He nodded, but the sneer was long gone. Yoonjin approached with flowers she admitted were from the studio. Mina asked for a photo and posted it online. It didn't hurt anymore. Rejection, it seemed, can be burned away. When night came and the city lights drew shadows on the sidewalk, we walked together, my mother, my father, my brother, under the neon glow that had once seemed so harsh. I took them to a late-night cafe. We ordered fruit pancakes and coffee, soaking tired feet in the warmth and soft laughter. I watched my family rediscover me inch by inch, letting old prejudice crack in the face of new truth. The pettiness and cruel laughter had faded into memory, like marks left behind on studio floorboards after years of practice. Success was proof, yes, but the real redemption was this: patience, small gestures, the willingness to share my world with those who once doubted me, letting them see, finally, that what they called ridiculous was what made me whole. And sitting there, their voices rising and falling over coffee, I realized sometimes the greatest return isn't applause or headlines, but being seen at last for who you truly are.